Today, we're going to take a look at four different food and beverage companies, very notable names. So, we're going to take a look at Coca Cola, PepsiCo, Keurig Dr. Pepper, and Nestle, three of which are domestic United States companies, Nestle being the international company, and see how these four compare. So, we'll take a look at the year to date performance. You see that Nestle is really outperforming the group by a significant margin with a near 26 year to date performance. Keurig Dr. Pepper is in third with an over 10% performance year to date. Coke is actually second with a 15% performance. And Pepsi slightly negative with just over, down 1%. And this is total return. So this is accounting for dividends included. We're kind of coming out of Q1 dividend season here. Looking at the 1 year chart for total return, we'll see that Coke is in first at 22, almost 23%. Keurig Dr. Pepper, 13.5%. And then both Nestle and Pepsi are negative over the past year. Nestle at 1.5% down, Pepsi almost 10% down. Lastly, we'll look at the 3 year performance. Coke, top performer, and actually over the past 3 years, the only positive performer of the group. Coke at nearly 24% up, Pepsi down 3.5%. Keurig Dr. Pepper over 4%, and Nestle down a miserable 16.5% total return over the 3 years, which is really unfortunate when you consider that all of these are steady dividend payers. Let's take a look at a few metrics between the four. So there you'll see the names and ticker symbols. The largest of the four companies from a market cap perspective is Coca-Cola at 308 billion, Nestle in second at 260, and Pepsi third at 206 billion. Keurig Dr. Pepper, a large laggard in total size at just 46 billion, but still certainly a substantial company. You'll see that reflected in their 2024 revenue. Notably, Nestle actually has quite a significant revenue for 24 at over 101 billion, the only one of the four over the 100 billion mark on an annual basis. Pepsi in second at 92 billion, Coca-Cola just under 50 at 47, and Keurig Dr. Pepper at 15 billion. Looking at the price to earnings ratios of the four, you'll see that Coke is by a fairly substantial margin more expensive, if you will, than some of the others. So Coke coming in at 24.2, Nestle at 22.2, Pepsi at 18.1, and Keurig Dr. Pepper by far the most inexpensive from a PE perspective at 16.9. With the sales growth expected for the four, none of these are fast growers, right? It's a very stable business, slow growth, slow price increases on those consumer products. But the growth profile for sales for KDP, 4.9% expected for 2025, followed by years of 3.9% for 26 and 27. Nestle, 5.6% sales growth expected for 2025, followed by years of 3.1% and 4.1%. Coca-Cola, 2.2% expected for 2025, followed by 5% in 26 and 5.6% in 2027. Pepsi expected to be flat for 2025, just 0.1% growth expected sales for 2025, followed by 3.6% in 2026 and 3.9% in 2027. Take a look at the dividend metrics here for these four. So strictly from a yield perspective, KDP is the lowest at 2.7%. However, they are the fastest growing from a 5 year CAGR perspective. So dividend yield on KDP is 2.7%, but they do have a 5 year growth of 8.6%. Nestle has a 3.3% dividend yield forward and a 5 year CAGR of 6.2%. Coca-Cola, a current 2.9% yield and a 5 year growth rate of 4.1%. And Pepsi now, after its poor performance recently, is up to a 3.6% dividend yield and has a 5 year dividend CAGR of 7.3%. Looking at the payout ratios, the two highest that I have are Coke at 67% and Pepsi at 65%. So payout ratios are becoming elevated. So not going to expect exponential dividend growth there on those two very mature companies. Now, KDP has a payout ratio of just 46.5%, let's say. So expect them to continue to grow that dividend at the most rapid rate of the four. They have the lowest yield at 2.7%. They've had the highest growth rate. Expect that to continue with KDP. Was not able to find a payout ratio for Nestle. Perhaps that's not part of the financial reporting requirements for international companies, slightly different accounting rules for domestic and international companies. Looking at the balance sheets quickly here, we'll see that KDP has the least amount of cash by quite a bit. Makes sense with the size of the company at 510 million. Compare that to debt at over 18 billion. That $18 billion of debt for KDP is nothing compared to Nestle here. So Nestle has over 70 billion in debt on the balance sheet, offset by just under 9 billion in cash. So just a massive amount of debt for Nestle. Looking at Coca-Cola, you've got just under 47 billion in debt, offset by just under 15 billion in cash, the most cash of any of the four. And then Pepsi, just under 48 billion in debt and just over 9 billion in cash. So all of these businesses carry a significant amount of debt compared to cash. Not something that's unsurprising. These aren't high-flying tech stocks that are making more income per quarter than they carry debt on the balance sheet. That's just not going to be the case for this type of business. We already covered the performance over the past few years. Just one thing I would call out is that KDP had undergone a merger several years ago. So the company in its current state did not exist 10 years ago. That's why you'll see that merger reference there on the 10-year performance for KDP. If we look at the 10-year performance for the other three, because I don't believe we did that on the chart before, you'll see that over the past decade, Nestle is up 30%, Coke 75%, and Pepsi 56%. So Coke, top performer over the last decade. And just a couple key brands for these, because these are very consumer facing companies. Obviously, these are products that maybe we shouldn't, but we consume on a daily, a weekly, whatever basis. So these are the highest revenue brands of these four giants. So for KDP, you've got Dr. Pepper, obviously, it's in the name. You've also got Keurig, also in the name. So that was the key merger there. You've got Snapple, Canada Dry, Green Mountain Coffee. Anytime I've been into an office building or an auto shop or whatever, and they've got one of those shitty little Keurig machines, typically it's Green Mountain Coffee, K-Cups or whatever you want to call them. They also own Mott's, the applesauce, apple juice, A&W, phenomenal root beer, 7-Up, and Bai. I think Bai makes those juices that are perhaps supposed to have some vitamins in them. I don't know. Now looking at Nestle, you've got Nescafe, Kit Kat, Nespresso, Maggie. Not familiar with them, or Milo. I think those might be chocolate flavored beverages, maybe malt flavored beverages. Correct me if I'm wrong. You've got Purina, a very, very large animal food company. Smarties, Toll House, Nesquik, Stouffer's, and Aero. Not familiar with Aero. Very likely a significant brand outside of the United States. Coca-Cola, obviously, Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, it's interesting that Diet Coke is even a significantly larger beverage sold than Pepsi, let's call it full calorie. But anyway, Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, Sprite, Fanta, Minute Maid, very popular juices, Dasani. I'm not sure if Dasani is the highest selling water beverage in the world or not. If you know, let me know. We've also got Smart Water, Powerade, Topo Chico, Body Armor. That was a massive acquisition years ago. I think maybe Kobe Bryant was an early investor in Body Armor and made just phenomenal returns in it. You've got Costa. I believe that's a very large coffee brand internationally. Gold Peak, I believe teas. Simply, orange juice. I think they had lemonades. And then Fairlife was a large acquisition recently from Coca-Cola. I think protein-infused milks, milk alternatives. And we'll finish up here with Pepsi brands. You'll notice that Pepsi really more of a food company than a beverage company, at least from maybe not from notability, but certainly from a revenue perspective. So top brands for Pepsi, you've got Lay's potato chips, Doritos, Cheetos, Ruffles, Tostitos, all chips. Pepsi, actual Pepsi beverage, Pepsi Cola. You've got Mountain Dew, Gatorade. So you've always had that Powerade, Gatorade competition between Coke and Pepsi. Continuing on with Pepsi brands, you've got Quaker Foods, oatmeals and snacks, Rice-A-Roni. I've heard it's a San Francisco treat. Captain Crunch, Life cereal. So they're even into the cereals. Tropicana, everyone's got to have a juice to compete with Coke. And then finishing up with Sabritas, Gamesa, and Poppy. Poppy was a recent acquisition within the last couple of weeks, I believe. It was big news, very significant. It was several billion, I believe, acquisition. And that's a prebiotic soda, so a healthier soda alternative, as that has been trendy over the years recently. So those are the key brands of these consumer goods, consumer product, consumer facing giants. Quick comparison, just wanted to do it for a little bit of fun. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye bye.